Hello, my name's Susie Johns. I just thought I'd show you my latest book, which was published last week. It's called Circus Embroidery. And by way of an introduction to the book, I thought I would stitch one of the motifs just to show you how easy it is. So this is a little tutorial on satin stitch embroidery. The book contains more than 200 motifs for you to embroider, from little tents to performing animals, penguins, dogs, elephants, exotic animals, ringmasters, clowns, jugglers, and speciality acts, even people front of house. And the one I've chosen to demonstrate is this little dog. So the materials I'm going to use are white cotton fabric, a small embroidery hoop, a crewel needle, embroidery needle, some small embroidery scissors, and some embroidery floss in red, white, grey, blue, 2 shades of brown, and some black, which isn't shown here. I'm going to use a blue ballpoint pen to trace the motif directly onto the fabric. Ballpoint pen, an old-fashioned ballpoint pen, is the ideal thing for this because it's indelible, and the stitches, the embroidery stitches, will cover up any of the lines that you've drawn. Also, using just a sheeting weight white cotton fabric means that you can see the motif clearly through the fabric, and so it's reasonably easy to trace. If you find it difficult, you could always use a light box. And looking on the right hand page at the finished dog, I'm just adding the little patches on his back and face. So here's the fabric with the motif drawn on it, and I'm going to stretch it in my embroidery hoop, which is 9 centimetres or 3.5 inches in diameter. I'll start by stitching the dog's collar. I'm separating out 2 strands from the 6 strands of embroidery thread and just threading them into my crewel needle. This is an embroidery needle with a long eye. Now, starting at the front of the work, I'm going to leave a small tail of thread and then bring the needle up at the beginning of the collar. Then it's a case of filling in the collar using satin stitch, bringing the needle up on the right hand side and down at the left. I'm going to continue like this, making the stitches parallel and close together until the whole of the collar, the little strip, has been filled with stitches. Now I'll show you that in close-up so you can see a bit more clearly how the stitches fill the little shape. And now I've finished that little area, I can turn the work over and take my needle through the back of the stitches and trim off the thread close to the fabric. Now I'm going to thread my needle with 2 strands of the light brown and start off by running the needle under the stitches at the back just to attach the end of the thread. And now I'm going to fill in the patch on the back of the dog's back with some running stitches. This helps to pad out the area before I start stitching in satin stitch. So with that area padded out with running stitches, I can start the satin stitch by bringing the needle up at the right and down back through the fabric on the left, making sure that I cover up the lines, the blue lines that I've drawn. And you do that by bringing the needle up just slightly outside the line. So carry on like this until the whole area has been filled with satin stitches. Then turn the work over and once again take the needle back through the stitches just so that the thread is securely fastened off. Still using the same coloured thread, I'm going to fill in the patch on the back of the dog's head. Once again, sewing a few running stitches to pad out the area before filling it in with satin stitch. Now I'm going to leave this colour for a moment while I fill in the ear with the other shade of brown. And now the ear's done, I can fasten off that colour and rethread my needle with the first colour and continue around the dog's head. So now that the front leg is done, I'm going to do the body, starting at the back leg and going around the belly, and then the other back leg and front leg. So the little dog is nearly complete now. There's just a few small details, starting with the ball that he's playing with. When you're fastening off your thread, especially if it's a dark colour, any little ends can show through and spoil the work. So make sure that you trim it really close and don't leave any loose ends sticking out that would show through. Using some black thread will help these little features to stand out from the background. The eye is just a couple of stitches, just very small stitches sewn on top of one another. And then just bring the needle out at the base of the nose and complete the nose just with a few satin stitches, and that's the dog nearly finished. Because the dog's body is embroidered with white thread on white fabric, it's a good idea to just outline some of the areas to make them stand out using a single strand of grey thread. Attach the thread to the back of the work as before, and then just bring it to the front and use back stitch just to edge a few of the areas for emphasis. So here's the finished embroidery based on the little dog in the book. But you could of course use your own colours. Here's tan and white, or a spotty dog embroidered in white with the black spots added afterwards. I hope you've enjoyed this little demonstration, and this is just one of over 200 motifs in the book. It was a pleasure to write and it's been a pleasure to do this demonstration for you today. Thank you.